Public Meetings Act and is open to the media and public. Notices were duly posted, and the meeting was advertised in the Hunterdon County Democrat and Courier News. Form may be taken. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert.
Here.
Robin McCallum.
Here.
Melissa Zanto.
Here.
Anna Shin.
Here.
Laura Simon.
Here. What is that?
Which we're gonna get double because I didn't shut this up.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. To get started tonight, I'd like to welcome Dr. DeRosa, principal of White House School, to our board meeting. Dr. DeRosa has planned to share some highlights of some of the exciting things that are happening at White House School. So to begin the superintendent's report this evening, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. DeRosa for her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Is that on?
I think so. I probably don't need to do that.
Yeah.
No?
Oh,
Oh,
there
now
we
here
go.
we go. I'm sorry. So anyway, thank you for having us. I wanted to draw your attention to the screen up here. This is our thematic unit for White House School. Each year we do a thematic unit, and this year we're going to be focusing on Balto. And this is a statue in Central Park in New York City, and he's the reason that we have the Iditarod race in Alaska. And each spring at White House School, we do a service charity walkathon. We pick a cause, and this year we changed the name to Bustling Like Balto because it will fall in the spring when we do our walkathon at recess. And so we are going to allocate all proceeds to the dogs who are running the race on the trail for that charity. In 2017, we became a National School of Character. That distinction will be in place until 2022, so we're very proud of this award. And we wanted to talk to you a little bit about the process that we went through to become a National School of Character. We had to first go through a process with the state, and basically they have schools evaluate themselves in 11 different areas, or what they call the 11 principles. They're up here. There are 11 principles of character education. And basically they ask, they want to know, is a school espousing its core values? Are they taking a comprehensive approach to character education and social emotional learning? Are they giving their students and school community opportunities for moral action? And embedded in all of those are the 5 recognized SEL competencies, which Mr. Tumalo will be talking to you in more detail about later. But speaking of Mr. Tumalo, we were asked last year to become state reviewers for schools that were applying to be national, or schools of character, and to go on to become a national school of character. They've asked us back again this year, and we wanted to tell you briefly a little bit about the training process that we had to go through. I think they'll probably give us a refresher on it too. When they asked us, we were honored. They put us through training, inter-rater reliability training, where they gave us a bunch of what they called fictitious applications from other school of character applicants. And we had to rate them with different instruments in each of the principal areas. And not only did we rate them, we had to write narratives to defend our assertions and then be ready for the big conference call. So
yeah, I think there were about 40 of us in the conference call, throughout the state. Yeah.
So then we talked about if the applicant, what strengths the application had, what areas of growth, and any promising practices if they weren't going to rise to the level, what they had in place that could be built upon.
So then once we scored them, we sent them to the state. And they tallied everything up, and
we did the real ones after that.
We did the real ones first.
Once we scored the real ones after the conference.
Yeah, after that, we sent them to the state, they totaled everything up and they gave the schools a rating. And so the first rating was honorable mention, then you have emerging school of character, and then finally state school of character. Once you become a state school of character, then you become you can be considered for national school of character. So as a team, we were really surprised and just very grateful that we became a school of character, national school of character in the first first try. So.
And I do think that we've had several awards at White House School, but this is the one that brings me the most pride in my career because it was very rigorous. We had to go through a site visit. It was an all-day site visit. Mrs. Shim was one of the groups that got interviewed. They take the committee out of it, and they really pull you aside all day long in constituency groups to make sure that what you're putting in the application has integrity and what you're reporting is honest. So it really, it was a full day of interviews, and we were thrilled that we made it to the national level. I want to tell you really tonight what we're doing now, but I'll give you a real quick history on it. We began our journey in 2005. As a staff, we came together and we adopted a respect mantra. This was back in 2005. Debbie has a shirt.
Yeah, we do it. Respect, and we respect rules, everyone's self, property, environment, community, and teamwork. And all of our staff and students do wear this T-shirt for all of our town hall meetings.
We also, at the time, adopted a mission statement. It's up there. Debbie's going to read it.
It's also hung in each of our classrooms. And the mission of White House School is to provide children with a nurturing environment where they feel safe and accepted. Our school community encourages respect and builds independence while fostering academic and personal growth and creating a love for learning.
So then what we did with our core values, the respect acronym, we later turned it into our core values chant, which we sing every day. I will spare you the singing. But if you look at it, those are the lyrics to our school song, and the RESPECT acronym is embedded throughout the chant. Right now you have a green folder, so I'd like to first draw your attention to the single orange sheet on the left-hand side of it. We've built upon our program every year, we believe. So since 2005, we've come together as a school community to do a thematic unit. Those are the thematic units that we really engaged around. We tried to find curricular connections and SEL links for all of them every year. So that's kind of a look at what we've been doing for more than a decade. If you look at the next packet, I was going to ask that you open up the packet. I was going to draw your attention to two different areas. In this packet, if you open it up to pages 1 and 2, this is really a map of what we do. We try to integrate everything we do in a purposeful way around the theme of the month. And I'll just ask you to look at November just for an example. November is Gratitude Month. It's the month we're in now. We pick a spirit day surrounding it. Sometimes it's festive. We've tried to make it purposeful to link it. The next column shows you affirmations, and we read these over the loudspeaker every day. And any relevant quotes. We connect it with the career readiness practices in that column. And then the next column shows ways we're trying to embed it in the actual curricular areas. And under that, the SEL competencies of focus. Some of these traits lend themselves better to certain competencies than others. So we try to identify as a SEL committee a piece of a body of work that teachers can plan off of. And then on the right-hand side, we always have a service project opportunity, at least one. This month we have 2. We're doing an art class, Flags for the Faithful, and they will be delivered kind of in conjunction with a Boy Scout program. We talked to the coordinator of that yesterday. They will deliver goodies and our Flags for the Faithful to the VA hospital in Bernards Township. And we're also doing a second project, a Harvest of Love piece of artwork to show gratitude for our master gardeners in November. If you flip through to pages 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, just an example, the rest of the document has ways to naturally embed each trait week by week with literature connections. We have a whole list of mentor texts teachers can choose from, ways to integrate specific due dates. And this is a working document. We update it every summer. So for the most part, all the dates should be pretty accurate. So we break each month into 4 weeks. And they use this to plan not only their morning meeting, we have morning meeting, but they also have an SEL block in their schedule, which I'll show you in a minute. And throughout the day, the way they can find natural integration. At White House School, we are about bulletin boards and buckets. Everything that we've done and built upon has been generated from a children's work. It's called Have You Filled a Bucket Today? So over time, we put buckets at every door, had a bucket mural brought in or painted through HSA funding. Other additional murals, Come Back to Calm Mindfulness mural. We are Cubs of Character Cubby. So we're all about that, but we're about much more. We have a trait of the month. As you see here, this is our year right now laid out. We strategically pick our themes and related service projects. And one example I wanted to tell you about it, we feel like it's organic. Each summer we review what did work and what didn't work. So a year ago, mindfulness was the theme in November. And we kind of feel like our kids are familiar enough with the concept that it's more of an umbrella like respect. So we changed November to gratitude. Okay, we have a town hall meeting every month. Mrs. DeBarro mentioned that we wear our t-shirts to town hall. We instituted town hall meetings 4 years ago. And the purpose of our town hall meeting is to reflect on the prior trait from the month before and to launch the new trait. After town hall, we have school-wide homework. And this is a homework. This is a bucket that every student receives after the town hall day. And it really encourages children to track their acts of character based on the trait. On the back of each bucket, this is on the right-hand side of your folder. On the back of each bucket are indicators that parents can use at home. A lot of times parents say they keep these on the refrigerator. And so they can partner with us. And really the idea behind it is we don't need you to fill in all 20 pieces. We need children to be authentic and honest with it. And it serves to foster discourse at home and the family around each trait. And we're happy we've had parents, we put these on the website, so they print them out for younger siblings so they can participate too sometimes. And we've been tracking the return rates on these. So it is required homework in White House School, not to have every piece filled in, but to have a parent signature on the bottom with a tally. And we are in our 12th consecutive month of 100% participation. So every child has turned this in since last September. So we track it and they know. And we provide an incentive bulletin board in town hall when they get the results if they did meet our goal or not. So we're thrilled about that. The next packet in here is a red packet. This is our family conference directory. If you really look on page, I think it's just open it up one page. The concept is this: we have family matriarchs and patriarchs. We break the whole school up into matriarch and patriarch type of leader. So all the adults in the school are assigned a house, which are the room numbers. And in each house is a family that has a family leader, family mom or dad. And we made sure we put a certificated staff member in every room, if not at least one, if not more. And this program, we're in our 4th year of it. And we're thrilled. It continues to be embraced by district supervisors. Dr. Hart took a family. So we have Mashio's cafeteria representatives who have a family, Don Race, our buildings coordinator, and the supervisors. So in our little family conferences after town hall, if you flip through to the next page, children are broken up into little families and they stay together for their whole time at White House School. So when the 3rd graders in a particular family graduate, we replace them with new kindergartners, and we update this every summer. And in this particular case, we had some move-ins. So the front cover, this was updated as late as last week. So we just meet with them. Mrs. DePar, you had some examples of what they do in a family conference too. They really have like artistic freedom, the adults, to run. Thank you.
Each family has freedom to do whatever they choose in their individual little families, and sometimes crafts come out of them. And this one, for example, is about patience and how long it takes for a butterfly to become as beautiful as it is. And we have some other samples here. I wish, just a little magic wand, and it says here, I wish that people will try to understand each other, and helping hands, and family New Year's resolutions. So there's a variety of things that happen in these little families.
The family had to make New Year's resolutions at his family.
And even sometimes the individual classrooms, the teachers have their own bucket. And this just happens to be one of our third grade teachers. And throughout the month, as they do the character trait, which in this case was responsibility, they fill in their bucket. This is a very creative one. We wanted to show you that.
Okay, thank you. I covered this earlier in the orange packet. There are 4 weeks per theme. Teachers introduce it in their morning meeting, and they try to integrate it throughout the day and expand on it during their SEL block. They give everybody a whole period during the day to find natural ways to connect, what they've been talking about in morning meeting. And in this particular, this was a sample schedule from 2016, but I still use them. This particular teacher, the last period of the day, has some extension time. And we thought that butterfly one was a good science extension, talking about patience. And on the worksheet, it relates it back to children. I will wait my turn, not complain when I don't get my way. Things like that to make a connection in all subject areas. This year, what we're also doing is each summer when I send my summer mailing out to staff members, if you look in the folder at this sheet, it has a list of our faculty meetings for the year. On the back of it, we break up into professional learning community groups where staff members, I commingle them into groups that they wouldn't normally work with or normally see throughout the day. But the common purpose this year is in additional integration with our monthly themes. And what I mean by integration, and we'll talk about the next blue sheet, is each professional learning community group this year is charged with taking the trait that's coming up. I scheduled this a month behind, so when they present at a faculty meeting, which every group has to, it will be relevant and the theme will not have happened yet, so they can use it in the next month directly with children. So we're trying to come up with new and fresh ideas to share with each other, and with curricular connections, the Timely World connection for that trait, the service learning project, an SEL prompt. All of our students and staff members have an SEL journal, and we regularly write in them and reflect on different prompts. And then if you look on the left-hand side of the sheet, Mr. Tumalo would like to talk about the competencies.
So you'll see the 5 competencies there: this self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. That's really our focus for all of the buildings. That's going to be our common language for the district. So what we were doing here at White House was, as Dr. Doros had mentioned, having the PLC groups identify highlighting the most obvious competencies that would connect to the activity. So one of the activity, we were the first PLC group to kind of model for the faculty. So, Ms. DeBarro and I, we did a project called the crumpled paper effect. So do you want to talk about that real quick?
So it did have curricular connections to literacy and social studies. And we did have some Timely World connections, because it was the Week of Respect and also School Violence Awareness Week. we did a service learning project. We collected food for slow with the crumpled paper effect. We actually showed the teachers that this is something that they could use in an SEL time slot during the day or during morning meeting. And Mr. Tilley, you want to explain?
Yeah. So it was the month of friendliness. That was what we're showing. So the crumple of paper effect is you have, so this represents your heart almost. And, someone says something unkind to you and, oh, thanks, crumple the paper up. You try to smooth it out. All the crinkles represent the hurt feelings inside. So no matter how many times you try to get that smooth paper back, you really can't take the words back. So that was really the lesson in that activity.
And then we also have the steps for that on the back of the sheet as well. So we just scattered
Yes,
out that.
the teachers.
It's a little takeaway for the teachers that they could use if they wanted to.
So as we said before, the activity can be supported in morning meeting, SEL, or family conferences. Another area that we're really working on is we have been developing an SEL lounge, and this space is really used for teachers as an extra resource for them to have. Do you want to talk about this real quick first?
Okay, these are actually, no, you didn't skip me. These are actually the categories that are on the blue sheet.
Oh, yeah.
And our SEL lounge, we've expanded it because I lost a section, so you got to spread out.
That's right. Yeah. So the next slide will show some pictures of the lounge, and really what we're doing is integrating really the competencies and the character traits. So it's a space for teachers to go to do morning meeting there if they'd like to. It could be used for individual students. There are some, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner, there are some yoga mats for kids that need to move. There's a smart board in there. So really what we try to do was there's literature in there as well. And all the books are competency connected. So if a teacher is looking for an activity to teach self-awareness, they can go in, they'll find a book that they could use for that particular activity. So yeah, really happy about it. So mindfulness, we've been doing mindfulness for a while, and really what we're finding is that mindfulness supports social and emotional learning in the fact that it really teaches kids to be self-aware and how to self-regulate. So we're just continuing that and again expanding it throughout the district.
This year, we know that they're starting to come out with some commercial products to assess social and emotional learning in children, but we thought that we'd rather build our own. So based on the 5 competencies and additional initiatives that are specific to White House School, we came up with an SEL pre-assessment pilot for kindergartners, and our SEL committee went in and actually administered this to every kindergartner on a one-to-one basis, one-on-one, and we're going to use it as a pretest, and so we'll give it again, the identical test at the end of the year to see what the results look like and to see if there are areas of growth that we could focus on. So we did create our own. We're excited about that. And then in addition to that, Mr. Tumalo has been working at the K-3 level on building a rubric assessment. I have a copy of it here, that he would like to eventually bring to the K-8 level after we develop it a little bit at the K-3 level. Thank you. Other tools that we've used each year for 4 years, we've given a fall and a spring survey. We have a student survey, a staff survey, and a parent survey. We've looked at the results and analyzed them to see trends or any areas of growth. And then a suggestion that came out of our review when we became a school of character was the recommendation they made to me, or one of them was to align your interviewing protocol to make sure that you can attract people who are like-minded with regard to your core values. So I did do that, and I've been using it. I created a protocol to use in the summer when I'm interviewing teachers, and I analyzed it specifically before tonight. And I put 9 out of 21 questions have in some way, shape, or form are connected to social emotional learning or character education. So thank you for having us. We hope you check out our Character Corner tab on the website. Mr. Tumalo built a beautiful SEL tab at the district level on the website too. And we still are on Twitter. I need more followers though. So we're White House School Cubs at Cubs of Character. And I just wanted to close out by saying it is Gratitude Month. Our enrichment teacher, Lori Yaknowicz, just created a brand new gratitude video because this is the first time we've done this theme, and we'd like to play it for you. Thank you for having us.
Gratitude means the quality of being thankful, readiness to show appreciation for and willingness to return kindness. I am a bucket filler and I demonstrate good character when I am grateful. Some examples of how I can show gratitude include: I am happy that I am one of a kind or unique. I give thanks for the things that I have been given. I tell people who bring me joy that I appreciate them. I am grateful for the things in nature. I recognize when people have made things better for me. I am mindful of how I can be of service to those in need.
You're my life, you're my breath, you're a smile, you're my guest, you're the earth, you're the sun, you're the grass, you are love, you're my hands, you're a bug, you're my eyes, you're a hug, you're the light in the dark, you're the spark, you are fun, you're my mom, you are water, you're the stars, you're my daughter, you're my friend till the end, you're my dreams, you're my father, you're the ants on the ground, the miracles that surround, I'm feeling it all around, the hemisphere and the clouds, you're my pain, you're my sorrow, you're my hope for tomorrow, you're the strength when I'm hollow, you're the path that I follow, you're the blessings that exist, the small things that are bliss, the gift to realize that everything
all that I am, all that I see, all that I've been, and all that I'll ever be is a blessing. It's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all, for it all. Grateful for it all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. DeRosa, I'm now following you on Twitter, by the way.
Thank you so much for coming out and sharing all of your hard work. One thing that resonated with me was when Mr. Tumalo did the crumpled paper. For kids, that's awesome because they're able to actually see what they can do with their words. And it just really hit home. So thank you.
Thank you. Like Dr. DeRosa said, I'd also like to announce that Dr. DeRosa and Mr. Tumalo have been selected to be reviewers for and scores for the the New Jersey School of Character applications. As you know, schools in New Jersey apply for this recognition every year, and it's an honor to have two of our own actually be scorers and reviewers for those applications. So thank you very much for being able to do that. Thank you. Moving on through the superintendent's report. Next is recognition of one of our educational support professionals. So Pauline has been recognized as the Hunterdon County Education Support Professional of the Year. Pauline is a classroom aide at the Three Bridges School. She was nominated for this distinction because of her dedication to the profession, the students, the community, her colleagues. Pauline and her family and friends are invited to join the support professionals in Hunterdon County at a reception on November 15th, where she will receive this distinction. So I'd like to congratulate Pauline. Pauline, you're here, right? You're all the way in the back. Pauline, congratulations. Mrs. Simon and I have a small certificate of appreciation for you, and I believe that Mrs. Higgins might want to say a word or two in recognition of all of your efforts.
So, Pauline, I am so proud and pleased to be here tonight to honor Pauline Marsh, the Hunterdon Education Support Professional of the Year. The very first thing Pauline said to me when I congratulated her was that she wished all the aides in Reddington could receive the award with her. And in a way, they are. Our district and our support staff are being recognized by the county with Pauline for her service to our children, our teachers, our school, and our district. She represents the finest of our educators who give so much of themselves and ask for so little in return. Pauline represents the care, the joy, the passion, and hard work that is the fiber of all of our support staff. Pauline climbs mountains for her preschoolers every minute of every day. She asks how she can help, and she also just jumps right in because she knows what her little ones need and her teachers that she supports needs. Pauline is an amazing example and a leader of our finest support staff that we have anywhere in the world. So congratulations, Pauline. I'm very proud and a well-deserved award.
Pauline, I know you don't want to because you're sitting all the way in the back, but I'm going to ask that you come up and receive your certificate. Pauline, thank you for all you do. We really appreciate it. Next, there are some highlights that I want to mention to the board from the New Jersey School Board's workshop in Atlantic City. First, our district and all of our schools were recipients of several awards through Sustainable Jersey. All schools were certified, as you know, either silver or bronze. Three Bridges received the Champion Award, and we also received the Sustainability Makes Sense Award for our cost savings through sustainability, and we were able to attend a very nice reception at the workshop. We also received the SAFE Award, the Safety Achievement Award. It's from the School Alliance Insurance Fund. We completed the Tier 1 requirements, which resulted in a $4,000 award to the district as well as a plaque. And finally, we had groups of students compete in the steam tank competition. The catastrophe care kit students placed among the top 3, and they actually just competed at the NJEA convention and came in 3rd place and were awarded a $1,000 award. In addition, they were so excited, I hear from Mrs. Freeman, when they were on the bus on the way home, they were planning their next project, and they also approached the judges about doing a virtual video chat with them to get even more feedback to make more improvements on their project. And the judges agreed to eventually set up some kind of meeting. So we have students that placed third overall and competed at NJA. And the Groganics team did not make it to the final 3, but they achieved 6th place overall. So we have some really impressive students that won some awesome distinctions. And I don't know if anybody else has any comments about the workshop, but I thought it was a great workshop this year down in Atlantic City. No? Yeah?
I agree. I think it was a good year. There were a lot of valuable sessions that we kind of split up and went to. And we brought a bunch of things back that we can consider. Mm-hmm. So it's all good. Definitely worth a while.
Yeah, it was very good. I'd like to announce my next superintendent coffee chat is on December 4th. The topic is going to be social emotional learning. Mr. Tumalo and I talked, and we think it might be really nice to give parents some of that common language that we talk about with the 5 competencies in social emotional learning. And lastly, I'll just bring to your attention that Board goals are attached as agenda item 1.02 for your ratification tonight, and they were also in your board portal scans. I think that's it for my superintendent's report. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we're now open to the public. Anything on or off the agenda? I'm sorry, anything on the agenda? Not hearing any. Moving into correspondence, we had correspondence from 4 individuals. Administrative reports, can I get a motion to adopt 1.01 to 1.03?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion on the items?
Can I just point out one thing on the enrollment report? And I put in my newsletter that there was a clerical error and that we are actually down by, at this month, approximately 33 students from last year. We initially thought we had increased enrollment, but it's actually decreased by 33.
Does anyone want to talk about the board goals, the information that Gwen had forwarded over? Do you want to review them really quick? I can't hear you. Okay, we'll go over them really quick. Reflect. Okay. Number 1 is to continue to improve communications and expand community engagement with all stakeholders. Chime in if you need something to add or change a word. These are not set in stone. This is what the discussion would be now.
Just a quick question. Is there a way that we can, I mean, maybe this is something that we do at a committee level, but more define how to make those things happen?
Normally what we do, once the board agrees, then the committee relevant to that goal would be tasked to go and talk about it and come up with what it looks like to be done.
Okay, newbie question, sorry.
I already have them all written out.
Okay, thank you.
Number 2, to set budget parameters that maintain the depth, breadth, and quality of educational and co-curricular program while remaining fiscally accountable to the community. 3, continue to advance the goals of individual and institutional sustainability through the integration of solar data into the STEM curriculum. 4, to continue to upgrade and refine safety and security measures to ensure student and staff safety. And 5, to assess the district's current programs for social emotional learning and determine necessary programming for the future. And then there's an additional one just regarding the discussion, but this will be in a future conversation about the possibility of reducing the number of board members from 9 to 7, as well as looking at the committee structure. Does anyone have any questions or would like to make any modifications to the district goals?
Would we consider adding becoming certified as future ready to our district goals?
That's his goal. Yes.
Okay.
So some of my goals, of course, align with the district goals. And that too, I feel like if the board would agree, would be an action step that we would put underneath one of the goals that we would ensure that would occur in one of the committees, and we would have updates on that. But
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And I was absent the last meeting. So what was, for the 9 to 7 board members, what was driving that?
Wayne had suggested that due to when the ballots need to be, the information needs to be put on the ballots, that people aren't coming forward, but yet then we have a write-in situation. So he thought that we should consider reducing the number of board members. So it doesn't need to be decided now.
Right.
That's a later conversation. Okay. Eric, you had questions about sustainability and possible modification? Or do you,
No, I think that Jody did forward over some new data that's being collected on the website.
okay, good.
I think that integration of the data that we are currently collecting, if that can be utilized in and integrated into the curriculum, I think that would be a useful goal for right now.
Okay.
If something additional comes up that's apparent, that can be implemented in a 1-year timeline, we'll certainly introduce it to the region.
Okay. And number 3, that would go back to the Green Committee to work on whatever you would like.
Well, that's also obviously something that we have to discuss with, with the curriculum directors.
With ed tech, right. Okay. So no changes to the goals. All right, we'll have a roll call.
Ray Egbert,
Yes, 6, and then abstain from, I'm sorry, we're still on 1.0.
1.01 and
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
1.03.
I do, as far as I apologize for interrupting. As far as for the board goal, I mean, we do have only one topic, which is the discussion of the potential realignment of the board. Is that the entirety of the year's goals for the board?
The goals are 1 through 5.
No, I'm talking about there's the district goal and then there's the board goal as a separate entity.
Yep. These are board goals.
Everything?
But there can be, remember in Gwen's, if I recall, in Gwen's presentation, there can be overlap between district goals, board goals, superintendent goals. So it's not like these are mutually exclusive. These are, correct me if I'm wrong, these are board initiatives, but also our superintendent initiatives are also district initiatives.
And they always should be aligned.
Right.
So this is a good thing.
But the reason the one is set aside as a board goal, because that is strictly Board of Education discussion. That's not necessarily administrative. Correct. That was my interpretation.
Yeah. Okay. We got Ray.
Ray, just to clarify, you abstained from 1 and 3?
No, I'm sorry. Yes to everything.
Carol Hample,
Yes.
Robin McCallum,
Yes.
Melissa Zanto,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Zorling,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Moving on to minutes. Can I get a motion to adopt 2.01 and 2.02?
So moved. Second.
All right. Is there any discussion? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Abstain.
Carol Hample,
Yes.
Robin McCallum,
Yes.
Melissa Zanto,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Abstain.
Eric Zorling,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Finance and facilities. Can I get a motion to adopt 3.01 and 3.09?
So moved.
Second.
Is there, we have a committee report.
We do. The committee met on October 30th. We discussed the paraprofessional dental options that we had representatives from Brown & Brown. Presented 4 dental insurance quotes from Horizon, Aetna, Guardian, and Delta. And Cigna Filth did not provide a quote. The district currently receives dental benefits from Horizon, and Brown & Brown Associates is recommending continue with Horizon. And the committee is recommending continuing the dental with Horizon. Dr. Hart presented a 3-year plan for safety and security. The committee reviewed and discussed the 2018-19 capital projects. Mr. Race, our facilities manager, presented capital projects for the committee's consideration. The capital reserve balance is approximately $2.8 million, and Mr. Bohm recommended to only decrease this reserve by $1.5 million. The capital projects presented were security updates, including the vestibules for all schools, which is approximately 1 million. The RMS locker room renovations would be approximately 500,000. A Three Bridges boiler replacement would be approximately 900,000. And the Hollenbrook track improvements would be approximately 1 million. And the HBS and RMS paving projects would be approximately 300,000. The committee felt that the safety and security upgrades were a priority. And then also the RMS locker rooms would have a more direct student impact. So these two projects would be approximately the $1.5 million. The plan is for the architects to provide better estimate costs at the next committee meeting. So there's no recommendation at this time. We discussed the HBS track in more detail. It's basically a lot of maintenance for Mr. Race's department. We've had a lot of rain this summer. So basically it's eroded in several places. And Mr. Racy's provided an estimated cost of the 1 million to rebuild the track with a different material to prevent the erosion. Committee felt this cost to be unreasonable and not achievable for the foreseeable future. Mr. Race is to determine if the erosion could be prevented with other drainage options. And in the meantime, the maintenance department will continue to maintain the current track conditions. The cafeteria lunch lines, Dr. Hart and Mr. Bohm visited RMS to time the lunch lines. They felt that students were in line 2 to 3 minutes was an adequate amount of time. The only concern they visited wasn't not a deli day, which is probably a longer wait time. I guess they're making sandwiches to order for each student. However, if more time is needed, 5 minutes has been added to the lunch period with a reduction in academic support if the student chooses. So it's not, the students aren't required to do that. Also, options are being reviewed for deli days to offer maybe a grab and go for sandwiches and to add additional cashiers. And there is no committee recommendation at this time. The agenda items, most items are a standard. There's going to be one item to approve out of district parental transportation change. And the committee is recommending approval of all the agenda items. And the committee also discussed club stipends with no recommendation at this time. And the next meeting is planned for December 3rd. And that's the end.
Are there any questions on the agenda items or the committee report?
I just want to comment, I do believe, I didn't follow the final vote, but I do believe the referendum for the funding for schools, security did pass. And as I mentioned last time, ultimately how they're going to allocate the funds are another issue entirely, but I do hope that we will be ready specifically with these security upgrades. If we haven't figured out funding for them by the time that the money is available, that we will be ready to be first in line with our application.
Did we find out whether the vestibules has to be in the long-range plan in order to qualify?
When we contacted the county who contacted the state, there was no rule necessarily.
Okay.
There's no rule, there's no guidance. They were, at the time, they were waiting for the legislation to pass before they give us any kind of parameters for how we access any of the money.
Okay.
Should we be able to access it? And I don't want to misspeak, but I know that there was a legislative update. There's a lot of money that's going to vocational training and some other programs. And then there's a smaller portion, I want to say 50 million, but I don't quote me on that, that's going to safety and security upgrades that'll be across the state. How it's going to be disseminated, what the application process is yet to be determined according to the state.
Okay. Any questions on the agenda items? Not hearing any, can I get a roll call?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes.
Rob McCallum,
Yes.
Melissa Zanto, Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Zwirling,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes. Moving into education technology. Can I get a motion to adopt 4.01 to 4.10?
So moved.
Second.
We had a committee report.
Yes, we do. The committee met on November 1st. We talked about Ginger Building Challenge. The 6th and 7th grade gifted and talented classes will have an opportunity to work with the Stonehouse Group, who created a curriculum that's based on sustainability, renewability, and efficiency. The program fits nicely with our new gifted and talented curriculum on sustainabilities. We will be given the curriculum for free, along with an engineer who will come and train the gifted and talented teachers. The cost of the other materials is approximately $1,000. The curriculum will then be ours to keep, and this is perfect to go along with what we've already put in place. The committee is recommending it for approval. We have an update on Aerospace Club that happened on October 18th. The district provided busing to Alexandria Airport. 4 families utilized the buses. Approximately 6 more families drove. Parents were encouraged to attend the first meeting to see what the commitment was, so they're able to make a fully informed decision on it. There was positive feedback of the club initially. One of the teachers who attended would like to go back and attend more sessions when he is available. The owner of Alexandria Airport and the creator of the Living Labs, Linda Kastner, will update the district if students return for future clubs. And she is also being inducted into the Aviation Hall of Fame for this program. An update on the Raritan Valley Community College Partnership for the Arts. Upon approval from the board, this will be moving forward. A music teacher has been asked to lead the Hollenbrook students who are chosen to be a part of this joint venture, which is for 4th and 5th grade. The college has a Bach cantata with some student sections and invited our students to audition for these parts and to practice here at Hollenbrook School with the choir director from RBCC on some occasions and our teacher that will be leading all of the rehearsals, and both will be at their performance on December 8th with the college students. Reddington is just a small number of students. Union Township and Clinton Township are also involved with this program, and it's been opened up to them as well. The director would like to do a press release when and if it is approved at our meeting today, and the committee is recommending approval. The books that are listed on 4.10 on the agenda are all recommended for approval, and our next meeting is December 6th at 8:30.
Is the partnership approved by the other schools already? Just curious.
I believe so, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there any questions on the minutes or the agenda items? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Eggberg,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes.
Rob McCallum,
Yes.
Melissa Zanto,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Zorling,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon,
Yes.
passes.
Personnel. Can I get a motion to adopt 5.01 and 5.10?
So moved.
Second.
Committee report.
Is this 5.12 addition to this?
Is that in the packet?
Yeah, it should be in the folder.
Is that to go on today?
Yes.
So there's
Is
no
the one?
5.1.
1.1, it should say 5.11. So the numbers will be 5.10 on the consent agenda, and then the hand carry motion is 5.11. 5.10 to 5.2. No, I got it. It should say 5.11. You got it.
A little confusing.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so the motion will read 5.01 to 5.11. Do we need to do another? Or we can accept Anna and Tom?
If Anna and Tom are okay.
Do you still agree?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Do you want to do your report?
Yes. The committee met on November 8th. We talked about various staffing matters and some RTEA-related matters. Dr. Hart updated us on what he spoke about earlier, the error in the earlier enrollment report, where we've actually declined and not increased, so that has been corrected. He also spoke to us about the possibility of having a future job fair early in the winter, I guess to kind of increase the pool of candidates for the positions we are looking for often, like, substitute teachers and I guess maybe custodial positions and some of those types of positions. So maybe having a job fair in early winter to try to increase that pool. That was it. Our next meeting is scheduled for November 26th.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the agenda items or the minutes? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes?
Rob McCallum,
Yes.
Melissa Zanto,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Swirling,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon,
Yes.
passes.
Communications. Can I get a motion to adopt 6.01?
So move. Second.
All right. Is there any discussion? I would like. I had a question when I was reviewing the policy. The last time we talked about the different categories of who would be using the facilities relatively free, just paying the custodial fees.
Right.
And that is 1 through 7. That's accurate? So political organizations, they use the facilities for free?
Do you know the current regulation or the current fee schedule that we have? Do you have it?
I do have it.
And I'll start by saying, I don't know if political organizations is explicit on our fee schedule, but we're going to bring it up.
Okay. I know a couple of years ago, there were organizations, sports related, that wanted to use the school and the cost was prohibitive. So I'm glad to see there's,
Right.
that became a little bit more reasonable. But I just wonder if we went too far.
So we have certain classes, the way the current facility use fee schedule is, which after the policy is adopted, we need to go back and look at our facility, our fee schedule. We have class 1 groups, which are nonprofit organizations comprised of not less than 75% Reddington Township residents. And there's no charge. Class 2 are organized groups within the communities using the facilities for profit. There's charge. Class 3 are groups within the community using the facilities for nonprofit, charitable, philanthropic, civil, or other non-commercial or non-personal purpose. There is a charge. And then there's other organized groups within the community, YMCA, HCESC, RVCC, providing service to the students or community members. And there is a minor charge, which is used to cover custodial fees, $25.
Approximately.
Right. Would you like to say?
No, that information seems to be conflicting with the policy.
Yes.
So that'll be revised because right
After-
now it's 1 through 7 is free.
Except for if there's any other custodial
Right.
needs, right? Yes. So once this is changed, then we have to go through and redo our classes of groups for our fee schedule. This has not yet been changed.
Okay.
But if we read it for a second time, then we're adopting it as is. So should we take it back and correct that?
Do we not want that?
Well, I think if some of those classes that are in the lower end, you said are in class 2,
Right.
but they're saying that every single thing up until for profit is free. But
So
that's not what your class 2 is saying.
agreed. And I guess what I'm saying is that here in class 2 is organized groups within the community using facilities for profit. So if they're a for-profit organization, we would continue to charge a fee, correct? If they're nonprofit, we wouldn't, except for custodial fees, if needed.
So where do you see political
What-
organizations fitting in?
Community organizations,
Political.
Political.
yeah. It's a nonprofit group. They're not a profit group. That's where I would see them fit. Do we want to go back and look at the policy? Because what I was going to do is adopt the policy and then make the regulation consistent with the policy. Do we want to charge them a fee is the question.
How does everybody else feel?
I think it depends on what the activity is for that, you know. You can go all the way from fundraising for a personal campaign to, you know, talking about kind of general issues or anything, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I just wanted to bring it
Like
up.
a fundraising, I don't see, my thought is that I don't see the school district as allowing for a fundraising activity on school grounds, right, by a certain political party, but an event that maybe the League of Women Voters hosts on school grounds, I see as being, maybe for the school benefit, as being something that
There's a wide gamut there.
Right.
It's not a fundraiser, it could simply
wouldn't be a fundraiser,
a
an event.
Campaign exposure event. you know,
Right.
For a personal candidate.
Do they use the schools typically?
And I mean, not in my experience. I don't know when the last time, like the League of Women Voters, I'm trying to think of other political groups, may have come.
I don't know, that's why I'm asking. I don't have any recollection of.
There may be a distinction between holding just an informational rally and a fundraising event.
Sure.
And I'm on that committee. One of the things that gave us comfort with this was that the superintendent has to approve it, and then the board can also withdraw if there was something that we were uncomfortable with.
Right.
Such as a fundraising political rally, that would be pretty iffy for me to have on a school ground.
Sure.
Would every request come to the board though? Yes.
They come to me or they come to Jason and me for facility use.
Right.
So the
Normally
super-
we don't see it.
Right, no, so the superintendent has
So
discretion.
you're not gonna see it.
Right, but he has his discretion, but in the policy, it states that we reserve the right to withdraw permission after it has been granted.
Yeah, once you hear about it.
Yeah, you won't
Right.
know about it till after it's happening or right before it happens.
It's true.
You can only
I
make
just,
sure
I don't
you're
wanna
not
put
doing
him
it, but
in
it's-
a situation that he has to make that choice and then there's fallout from it.
Understood.
So this policy was recommended. This is one of the Strauss Esme policies that they draft for us. It's up to us if we want to revise it in any way. But remember, it's the policy, it's the regulation or the fee schedule that we can go back and revise. But if we think that we want to, if the board thinks that before adopting the policy, they want to reconsider, what I'm hearing is reconsider community political organizations, we can certainly send it back to the committee to reconsider and see whether or not that's a group that we want to allow use our facility. I think that question is a little bit different than how much do we charge them? Or maybe it is the same thing.
Are they typically nonprofit? And I really try to stay out of the political organizations and how they work. So I'm asking out of a legitimate lack of knowledge, are they typically nonprofit? Anyone know?
I think it depends on what level of politics you're talking about.
Oh, we're talking, well, let's just for the sake of the fact that we're in Reddington, township committee or even, it could be our local congressman and stuff like that. So we're talking smaller scale, but are they for profit, or when they're meeting with their people, are they having like town hall meetings, or are they looking for campaign contributions, which they have to record and do all that stuff too? Or is it like, an organization coming here and charging people to use the facilities and making 100% of the profit off of it?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, you could create a category 9, which is campaign fundraisers.
But even if it's not fundraisers, I mean, there's still, I would imagine candidates would want to use the facilities for, just community outreach during campaigns or whatever.
So
I mean, we had an assembly, we invited both congressmen for assemblies, and I don't, of course, I'm sure there's a political gain for that, but it's also informative for students. We want them to be engaged in the political process, our students to be engaged in that process.
I think if there was a clear description when you see it of what type of activity they want to
For
do,
me
and
to
for
see.
your discretion to be, does this? I think as you put it, committee, does this fit with the model of our district?
Exactly,
And
and
if it doesn't, for it to then be denied or
right, and that's something we discussed in committee, which is we wanted to make sure that we put the right of refusal in the policy guide, in as much to say if there's a group that comes forth and says we wish to use your facilities, and they're not a group that we believe upholds the mission or the values of a school district or our school district, that we have the right of refusal and say no.
And you can ask the question, will admission be charged to this event in excess of that necessary to cover the costs associated with the event? If somebody's having an event, they may charge some nominal fee to come into the event that covers whatever their costs are. But then there's a separate, above and beyond that, where they're actually trying to raise money from that event. And maybe that might be the distinction there.
Jason, I'm sorry, go ahead, finish, please.
No, that somebody's coming onto the property, that they're not just trying to cover their costs, but that they're trying to leave with some additional funding.
When we, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, when we ask for them to use our facilities, we'll get ancillary paperwork attached to the documentation that would suggest what kind of organization they are. If they're a nonprofit, we would get that paperwork. If they're for-profit, we would get that paperwork. I mean, I know specifically with the one group we discussed in committee, we got information from that group that she said she was for-profit and provided that paperwork.
Yeah, we get a variety of different paperwork and information that allows us to understand what the organization entails, as well as their insurance, which has a lot of their information you can look up for, like the IRS and things like that, to see if they're a nonprofit or not. So we can verify if they are or not, as well as what the purpose is, to see if it aligns with our, mission.
Right. So we do have some information to go off of in determining the group.
And I would think if somebody's not forthcoming with that information, we have the right to refuse them regardless, so.
Right. If they don't complete the application to our expectation. So.
And
there,
a separate point, not just political organizations that might be doing fundraising, but anything that's doing fundraising. I don't think that if you're going to exclude a political organization from fundraising, the wording would have to be very specific or non-specific, because, you might allow some, charity runs and things that are to make money. So to exclude a political organization based on their fundraising might be hard to put it into a policy.
I mean, it really comes down to, the other issue that I had in the back of my head was just safety of the school. That was also my other concern, but if everybody else is comfortable.
I think we have a motion on the table. I mean, we can, so I we can vote. If it doesn't pass, we can always revisit in committee. If it does pass, then we can move forward. And it can always, if we come up with an example, something comes to Jason or I's administration and we're not quite sure, and we have a lesson learned through the policy, I can always bring the policy, even if we pass it tonight, I can bring it back to committee next month. If we have a solid example of something that, hey, maybe this doesn't fit into this box and we need to revise our policy again to be clearer. This is not an end all be all. We can certainly bring it back to, even if we pass tonight and we're comfortable and for now we're good, we can always bring the policy back to the committee and say, Jason and I went through the past 2 years of facility use forms. We noticed that there were a couple of examples that we didn't account for that maybe we want to clean up the policy a little bit more. We can always go back and revise.
And we could hold it for one more month too, right?
Well, we can, but there's a motion on the table, so you would just all have to say no, and we can hold it and go back and revise that way, or you can pass, we can move forward, and then we can come back and revise if Jason and I dig up an example that we need to put in there. I mean, at this point, we can't just hold unless we want, because there's a motion on the table, but that would be my only.
The only thing I was going to say is we want to make sure that we don't, that we haven't defined enough that we don't rely on that discretion, because if you indiscriminately apply that discretion, they overrule someone.
Right.
You know.
And I think that was Laura's point, right?
Yeah.
That like, we don't want to put the administration in a position where we
You don't want to discriminate.
discriminate, where we're discriminating, using our discretion to discriminate. Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
And with what Laura was saying, was just the safety of the school. And just with today's political culture, like if we say, one group, yes, we're opening our facilities up to you, but the totally opposite side, which could get nasty, whichever side, how would that work? Like, so you got the other side totally opposing whatever group we just allowed, but they would not, I don't know, obviously you wouldn't want both sides here at the same time, is what I'm saying, I guess. And can you limit that by this policy?
I think we can limit the time that they're here. This is hypothetical, right? I don't know if we want both here all at the same time. So I think we could set the date to use our facilities depending on the facility that they need to use. In this hypothetical scenario, I suppose if I had one side here that in order to be equal, that I would also invite or allow the other side, should they give an application? If there's no reason to discriminate against one, dare I use the word party or the other.
You're right.
So,
Yeah, all right.
yeah. In that hypothetical example.
Right.
How often are our schools used for stuff other than sports? I mean, I don't see a lot of activity going on.
Sports, rec, scouts. If I were to guess, I would say organizations that are geared toward community use and or student geared activities like scouts and sports, but also rec, like men's basketball and things like that, like their community organizations.
Does anyone in the room know of any experience that you've ever had where some organization that could potentially be a problem to come and ask for use of the schools? I mean, I don't know of any. Does anybody know of any? Anyone have knowledge of anything?
Offhand, I don't, but this is loosening the
yes.
policy.
I understand. I'm just
So
wondering.
before, people might have been turned away because they had to pay a fee. So you're opening up potentially the floodgates.
So we used to not allow political organizations?
They all had to pay. Unless you were a Reddington group, you had to pay. Yeah. Yeah.
Change this all that much.
We didn't
what
change
was-
that part of the policy though.
That sports group.
They were,
That sports group is a for profit though. That was why that came
Right.
that way.
that was.
It was a
three-
for-profit sports group clinic.
No, this was 3-4 years ago.
But that was different. That was, I know, we didn't modify anything about these groups except for-profit
numbered.
organizations were completely crossed off.
We pretty much put them in a
Yeah,
priority order.
They were put in a priority order only. And the fee was only added because of the for-profit. Nothing else has changed on that. All those other organizations have always been for free or custodial costs. We didn't, none of that was changed.
The Tewksbury softball team was declined because they were being charged, and this was under Barb.
According to the policy. I mean, I'm just telling you.
They were
I
gonna be
mean,
charged $300.
And according to that,
Yeah, I don't know.
was it the Reddington?
No,
Tewksbury?
just to have like a parent meeting or whatever they were doing, yeah.
Was it it was
Inside?
Tewksbury only, not Reddington? Not like a
Correct.
Reddington too, and maybe because of that, because it wasn't considered, there's language about it has to be 75% participants from your community.
So if
So
it
that
was
wasn't.
just Tewksbury and it wasn't 75% of the Reddington kids,
No, it's from all over. It's a mixture.
because the
Yeah, I don't
language
know.
did say if it was less than 75%, they would be charged.
Then they could be charged.
Yeah.
Any outside or any organization with less than 75% would be charged.
All right.
But those were all there before. They're just in a neater form.
Yeah, and they just didn't have a priority number.
They didn't.
Do we want to put the 75% in the actual policy?
That was our fee schedule. That was on our fee schedule.
I know.
Oh, you're asking if you want to put it in the policy?
Are right, to make it clear, because the regulation is, the fee schedule usually isn't published, right? Or is it?
The fee schedule is on our website.
Okay.
So I just had a thought too. I don't want to, and maybe I'm messing this up, but like if you took it out,
Mhm.
I want to make sure that it, and what you said a while ago, you know, how we bought it, the two candidates, I don't want to eliminate that kind of thing as well. You know, I want the students to know. I don't want that to say, oh, well, it's not in the policies. Now we can't invite two political candidates.
I think that was different. That was a
It's-
school
right.
during the day
But make
function.
sure that there's no
Yeah.
gray area there. I don't want to, you know. Okay. Okay.
I don't know if I want to open this can of worms.
Might as well.
The question I have is, for other than sporting type events where our township residents for rec purposes are using the buildings, if anyone applies for anything, are they required in any way to provide a security presence as well? Because if we mentioned today's political climate, if we have, not saying it's gonna happen, but if you have some political groups coming here, there's potential now for issues.
Mm.
That's my only question, is security purposes. You know, years ago, where I used to live with the fire department, we rented stuff out, and any renter had to have security for different events. Is that something that, like I said, I don't want to open a can of worms, but here it is. Just a question. It's just, because now what we're talking about, there's potential for groups coming in that could have problems. Potential.
Right.
And that's something that's been on our problem to solve list for safety and security for everything after school hours, you know, including the Y program. You know, as soon as the schools are let out, the doors are open. And so we don't have any plan in place.
Can of worms opened.
I opened it half.
You're gonna, Carolyn's gonna open it all the way.
What about the possibility of removing political organizations from the bucket? Is that a possibility?
I don't know how you can treat religious and political organizations different.
And not only that, you know, the political, if they're, it may be issue based, you know, are they technically political? Are they not? If they're not registered as such, so. I don't know.
Can you speak up, please?
He said, it's not necessarily just officially political organizations, because now there's a lot of groups on the issues. You know, so they may not be political in the sense of candidates or parties or something, but they may be issue driven just as much. You know, there may be
Like abortion.
gun advocacy groups or something, you know, just as much hostility around some of these issues.
Was political groups there before or no?
It was there before.
Before.
It's always been there.
It's always been there.
Always
We're at a
been there.
different time today.
I know. Well, no, I really believe the thing is that they're numbered and you actually are focusing on them. Where before it
It was
was,
just a list.
the policy was different when we first got it because all of the things that are numbered were actually took over 2 pages. Maybe the font was different the first time we looked at it, but no, but this is definitely more organized and clearer. And I think that's why some of us are looking at it for the second time, but seeing it more clear. You did bring it up last time.
Yeah. And again, there's always the right of refusal. If there's any potential for any issue, no, sorry, not available.
I think the fear is it could go where Democrats are denied more than Republicans, or vice versa, or the independents never get a chance to come in.
Right.
You know, I think that's what the fear is. Or if your issue is pro-gun, against,
Right.
anti-gun, which one's going to get denied more? But it needs to be
If
a
it's guns, it's
neutral.
probably not gonna be in school.
Right, yeah, nothing in the school. It needs to be, it needs to be where it's even and fair, and that's where. Yeah, I think if you define it much more, you're then holding the hands of the superintendent who's going to be making the decision as well. I think there needs to be discretion. You're talking about the groups, the board has voiced what we prefer and don't prefer, or stuff like that, but I don't see how a public building paid by township taxes can be closed off
And say never.
to anything that is within the township. So.
So in looking at the old policy, there is a catch-all. Organizations other than those listed when approved by the superintendent shall be charged a fee to use the facilities. And there's also that we've always had the right of refusal in here.
Well,
What?
let's take a vote.
Okay.
Roll call?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes.
Bob McKalen,
Yes.
Melissa Zanto,
I'm gonna abstain. I go back to reading. I can't say yes or no right now.
Thomas Walls,
Yes.
Eric Zwirling,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
No.
Passes.
And we don't have executive session anymore. Are we missing something? Oh, here we go. Unfinished business. Anybody have anything? New business from the board? I would just like to bring up the goals. I will send an email out to everybody, grouping, like 1 is communications, 2 is finance, etc. So I'll send that to everybody. And then the next time you meet, you would go over it and pick out what it looks like to be doing it well. And then we'll go from there. Does anybody have anything else for new business?
Is anyone else attending the security conference on the 28th? JB case?
I am.
Yes.
I'll be going, yes.
I probably will be.
I'm going to Screenagers tomorrow.
Yeah, there is screenagers, and remember they were showing it in Branchburg, but that's also tomorrow at JP Case in Flemington Raritan. Robin, you went to the Branchburg one.
Mhm.
If you're interested.
I'm supposed to go, my schedule's crapping.
If there's nothing else, we're now open to the public. Anything on or off the agenda? Not hearing anything? Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Oh,
All right, roll call?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes?
Rob McCallum,
Yes.
Melissa Zanto,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
yes.
Eric Swirling,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.